Ayatollah Khamenei tweeted almost every day, death to Israel.
I want to see no nuclear weapon in Iran.
U.S. President Donald Trump has requested that the National Security Council should be prepared in the Situation Room as he returns from the G7 summit in Canada. This according to reports which the White House spokesperson later confirmed to CNN. It may be recalled that Trump was seen in the Situation Room during his first term along with the then Vice President Mike Pence and other senior advisors when America's drone strike killed Iranian Major General Qasem Soleimani in Baghdad in 2020. The Situation Room is an intelligence management complex on the ground floor of the West Wing of the White House. It was established in 1961 by President Kennedy after the Bay of Pigs disaster, which revealed a need for a centralized crisis management center. It is in this very room where former President Barack Obama and his top aides watched the raids that killed Osama bin Laden. While it is unclear what will transpire in the Situation Room this time, it's important to note that Trump has rejected his French counterpart's claims that he is leaving the G7 summit in Canada early to work on a ceasefire between Israel and Iran.
What specifically is better than a ceasefire? What are you looking for here? And then a real end, not a ceasefire. And then so something that would be positive. Yeah, or giving up entirely. Is this okay too? Are you closer? Is that possible next 24 White House? Certainly possible. Complete give up. That's possible.
The U.S. president further said Macron had no idea why he was on his way to Washington, adding that it had nothing to do with ceasefire, but something much bigger than that. Earlier in the day, the U.S. president said that Iran should have signed the deal he had told them to sign. In a post on his Truth social network, Trump stressed Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, something he admitted he has said over and over again, and issued warning to those living in Tehran to immediately evacuate. This, while Pentagon is expanding its military deployment in West Asia. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said he directed the deployment of additional capabilities to the region. Posting on social media platform X, Hegseth said, protecting U.S. forces is our top priority, and these deployments are intended to enhance our defensive posture in the region. And joining us on the show right now, we're now being joined by Lynne O'Donnell, a journalist and an author from London. Welcome to WION, Ms. Donnell. First up, of course, U.S. President Donald Trump has left the G7 meet in Canada, and he said that there's something much bigger than a ceasefire in the works. What do you make of that statement at this point of time?
Thanks for having me on. The United States has significantly increased its defensive posture, sending tankers, transport aircraft, a carrier strike group, including the nuclear-powered USS Nimitz, and Patriot advanced missile detection and interception systems to the region. But it insists that these are defensive moves and not signals of a direct offensive involvement in the conflict, now 5 days old, between Israel and Iran. And that said, the lines are blurring. American forces are actively helping intercept Iranian missiles and drones that are being launched at Israel by Iran. Israeli officials have formally requested US participation, including bunker busters, the daisy cutter bombs that weigh 30,000 pounds, to attack deep Iranian military and nuclear facilities and sites. But the United States States has so far declined. Iran has warned it may target American bases or embassies in the region, and it did strike an area close to the US embassy in Tel Aviv, and windows were broken. So unless Iran strikes US personnel or installations directly, the US aims to support Israel defensively while avoiding direct combat. But concerns in Congress are rising about mission creep.
Right, Mr. Donnell, like you said, US has avoided not getting directly involved in the conflict so far until unless its interests are at stake. But Trump, on his way back from Canada to the US, said that he wants to meet the National Security Council in the Situation Room as he returns from the G7 summit. So the bigger question right now is, what does this mean for the conflict, and will US finally join the war?
You know, Trump has said that he, and his whole platform for re-election was ending US involvement in wars. And he's very assiduously kept out of the Ukraine-Russia conflagration and also out of Gaza. I don't think there's any doubt that he knew before Friday that Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, planned the attacks that we saw unfold on Friday that have begun this conflagration. But he's still not saying anything that would indicate that the Americans want to get involved. Organising a defensive posture and a support posture is not American involvement. I think that publicly allowing the information and encouraging the information that American these bunker buster bombs are on the table is also part of the defensive stance, and it sends a warning to the leaders in Tehran, as does that shocking warning to the 10 million residents of Tehran that they should evacuate immediately. It's caused panic in Tehran, and where the hell are they supposed to go? But I think at this stage, he says, I'm working on something bigger than a ceasefire. You just showed the footage where he said on the plane, it's bigger than that. I want an end. An end is possible. An end to what? I think what he's talking about is an end to Iran's moves towards the development of a nuclear weapon. Iran must not have a nuclear bomb. That's what he has said over and over, and diplomacy remains on the table.
Right, Mr. Donald, but if Trump does decide to join the war, because we've seen the past few days Israel has been convincing Trump to join the war, what are the risks and the gains for Trump and the United States of America?
Netanyahu has not been convincing Donald Trump to do anything. He's made it clear that he would like American support. I mean, what America could do is deliver to Israel B-2 bombers and these 30,000-pound bombs, along with trainers, and the Israelis can use them to do it themselves. But, you know, no one has convinced Donald Trump to get involved in this war. So let's make that clear. And I think what we're seeing at the moment is a build-up, a defensive build-up, and that's natural under the circumstances. We've also got, you know, most of the world's oil comes through the Straits of Hormuz. There doesn't seem to have been any panic-stricken spike in the oil price that would suggest that any expectation that oil deliveries will cease through the Straits of Hormuz. So I think that what he's doing is what we can expect, that he's sending repeated warnings to Iran. He's letting the leaders of Iran know that he is in support of Israel. But at the moment, no, there hasn't been any convincing of Donald Trump to do anything. Diplomacy remains on the table. Bunker busting bombs delivered to Israel also remain on the table.
Mr. Donald, how perhaps is diplomacy on the table at this point of time? Because like you mentioned, Trump has not expressed his intention of joining the war, but Trump has said that Iran should make a nuclear deal. And just a short while ago as well, Trump said that if Iran wants to talk, they know how to reach me, and asserted that he has not reached out to Iran for peace talks. But at the same time, Trump has also not asked Israel to de-escalate. So how does the situation panning out at this point of time? And how will Iran come on the negotiating table considering the situation at hand?
Well, as you say, Trump is making it very clear that diplomacy still is on the table, we're not talking peace talks. We're talking about Iranian leaders coming to the table and convincing the Americans that they are actually willing to scale back their nuclear uranium enrichment program and not move towards a bomb. What Donald Trump has made very clear in his own inimitable way is that Iran should not and cannot have a nuclear weapon. And so when we're talking diplomacy now, we're basically talking an Iran that is on the back foot in the case of American involvement in this war. Certainly, America is involved in its support for Israel. But what Donald Trump has made clear he wants is an Iranian commitment, probably backed by evidence and monitoring by the International Atomic Energy Agency, that it has ceased all efforts to develop a nuclear bomb. That's the bottom line here, I think.
Right, but Iran has clearly said that they will come on the negotiating table once Israel stops attacking Iran at this point of time. What perhaps is the broader end game for Israel?
Well, I think that Netanyahu has made it clear over, not just weeks, months, or years, but over decades, that his end game is the end of the current theocratic Islamist regime that runs and controls Iran. He's made that very clear. Whether or not that actually happens remains to be seen. But what's on the table at the moment is an Iranian capitulation to Donald Trump's demands that they cease all uranium enrichment activities that could result in the development of a bomb.
Right, Mr. Donald, thank you so much for joining us here on WION with your insights on this.
Thank you.